Hello fellow survivors, what's going on? I'm Purin, I'm the game survivor, and boy, if you're like me, you are super pumped for the upcoming H1Z1. But if you're not like me, and there are plenty of people who aren't, and that's a good thing, then you don't know what H1Z1 is. Well, I'll tell you, H1Z1 is an upcoming zombie survival MMO from Sony Online Entertainment, who are the guys who made PlanetSide 2. It's going to be free to play. It's coming into early access real soon. For about $20 you can buy into early access, but it will be free to play once it gets out of beta. If you are like me, you probably don't know how to contain all these fields, man. So I'm going to give you a handy guide to containing said fields. So this is the top 5 reasons to be excited for H1Z1. Enjoy, guys. Reason number 1, the engine. Now, anyone who's played PlanetSide 2 will know exactly what I'm talking about here. H1Z1 is going to be running the Forgelight engine, which is Sony Online Entertainment's in-house engine. It's the engine that runs PlanetSide 2, and again, if you've played PlanetSide 2, you know exactly how slick the gunplay is, how smooth the character movements are, and how goddamn pretty it looks. I mean, just look at this gameplay. This is PlanetSide 2 on Ultra, full settings, and boy, it looks gorgeous. It's so pretty. I'm really hoping that they can capture the gritty environment of post-apocalyptic zombie survival scenario using this engine and using its beautiful graphics capabilities. By the same token though, anyone who was there for the launch of the beta of PlanetSide 2 will know that it kinda had some performance issues, especially for AMD users. I'm an AMD user. I know them feels, man. I was there. And we had some trouble with that. NVIDIA users, because they had PhysX, you know, they were a little bit more able to run the game. But yeah, I had a little bit of trouble running the game with my card at that time. But there's a quote from Smed that gets me in sort of a more optimistic mood. He says that if you're able to run PlanetSide 2, you can run H1Z1 better. So I'm not entirely sure exactly what that means, but evidently that they've done some tweaking, they've done some optimization, so we're not going to have the rocky launch that PlanetSide 2 had, which is really good. Since it is running on the Forgelight engine, this means that essentially the Sony Online Entertainment devs can kind of pick and choose which parts of PlanetSide 2 they want to bring across to H1Z1. Now, I don't mean that literally. I don't mean we're going to see liberators flying above, you know, the United States, post-apocalyptic United States. I mean that they're going to be able to take advantage of the things that are already built into the engine, such as aircraft, vehicle physics, that kind of thing, and bring it across to H1Z1. Now, they don't have immediate plans for aircraft, but Smed said that they're looking into it. They're going to try and see if they can bring aircraft into the game, which is quite exciting. I mean, I know DayZ has aircraft, well the mod did. I'm not sure about the standalone, I'm not up to date with that. But we know how kind of wonky the DayZ engine is and how kind of wonky flying around in that is. If you've flown in PlanetSide 2, you'll know how good the flying and flying physics in that are, and how nice it'll be able to fly around in H1Z1. So that's definitely something to be excited for and to look forward to in future development. Reason number 2, the monetization. Now, this has got a few people's hackles up already, I can sense it. Don't worry about it, guys. Seriously, Sony Online know what they're doing. Don't take my word for it though. Smed has said a number of times that they don't want this to be pay to win, that you won't be able to buy weapons, that kind of thing, and that they want player feedback on what should be monetized. That's why they're running this beta, that's why it's going into early access, so they can kind of test the water, gauge our opinions on what should be monetized, and that's a good sign. I mean, no one who plays a hardcore survival game is gonna want just any noob to be able to buy a fucking machine gun right at spawn, you know? So it's probably gonna be stuff like camos, like in PlanetSide 2, different outfits that your character can wear, perhaps different voices. We know that there's going to be some kind of in-game VoIP and voice quick commands, so perhaps different voices for your character. The kind of thing that you see in PlanetSide 2. Maybe some kind of premium subscription, which is a good sign. I mean, PlanetSide 2, yeah, we've had some troubles with the monetization recently, but in general, it's been pretty good. We haven't had much to worry about. So if they manage to carry that across into H1Z1, power to them, man. Reason number 3, the learning curve. Now, we all know that DayZ is a pretty tough game, yeah? But weapons are pretty easy to find in that game. I mean, you can get yourself a Lee Enfield pretty quickly, you can get yourself some ammunition. Weapons just seem to be lying around in Chernerus, right? Well, this isn't going to be the case in H1Z1. We've heard from SMED and some of the developers a number of times that weapons are going to be really tough to find in this game, which is fantastic. It's really going to increase the learning curve. It means you're going to have to learn the map really well. And that's, I mean, that might make the community a little insular, which is something to watch out for because, you know, there'll kind of be that tentativeness for new players to join the game. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I mean, they've said a number of times that this is a hardcore survival game for hardcore survival game players. So, I mean, they're catering to their audience, which is really important. It's a really good thing. We've seen far too much dumbing down of video games in the past few years. So I think it's really good that Sony Online is taking a bit of a leap here and catering to a specific audience. I think that's a great thing that they're doing. And when it really comes down to it, guys, I've got you back. I'm going to be posting tutorials and guides, so we're going to smash through that learning curve. So yeah, I've got you covered, guys. Don't stress. Reason number 5. The world in the game. I'm super excited for that. It's going to be, as SMED and the devs have said a number of times, a huge persistent world, quite similar to the kind of thing that you're going to see in PlanetSide 2. The only difference being, in PlanetSide 2, you can't build your own structures and stuff. You can't create your own towns and camps like you can in H1Z1. I think what the devs are going for here is a kind of Walking Dead-esque kind of feel where, you know, there's these camps fighting for resources, fighting for survival, not working together. You know, they'll launch raids on each other in the middle of the night, burn down each other's camps. I think that's going to add to a really tense atmosphere to the game. I'm really looking forward to getting a crew together with some of my subscribers, hiding out in the mountains and then launching some surprise night raids on an enemy camp. That's going to be so much fun. And of course, that means that the crafting system has to be good, and the building system as well. And the little bits of the crafting system that we've seen look pretty solid. They're quite similar to Rust. They've got an object snap to system when you're building stuff, and anyone who's played Rust knows that that works really well. It's very intuitive, it's quite simple, it's easy to learn. So I don't think we're going to have too much trouble with a dodgy crafting system or anything. Reason number 5, the zombies. Now, this may seem kind of a weird reason to anyone who hasn't played DayZ or Rust, but to those who have, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The zombies in those games aren't much of a threat. They're more of an environmental hazard or a pest than anything else. The real threats are the other survivors, wanting your loot, wanting to kill you, wanting to grief, just wanting to fuck your day over, essentially. They're kind of bastards at times. Anyway, in H1Z1, it looks as though that the zombies might actually be the main threat in the game. If any of you guys have watched any of the live streams, any of the gameplay footage that the devs have put out, you'll know that one of the devs in one of the live streams actually got killed by a zombie, which is kind of cool. He was just walking around, he was drawing far too much attention to himself, he wasn't sneaking or anything, and so the zombies found him and killed him, and that's great. I've heard SMED talking about what's known as emergent AI, and that's essentially the fact that the zombies are going to be having their own individual AIs. They're not going to be all working off the same AI, which is going to lead to some really interesting scenarios in which players get killed in a way they probably didn't expect, which is awesome. It's going to lead to some great storytelling opportunities. I'm going to be able to bring you guys some really hilarious deaths. There's going to be plenty of those, I'm sure. So yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to. There's the fact that the zombies are actually going to be a threat. They're going to be surprising, they're going to act in surprising ways, and that they're going to be a little bit more than just an environmental hazard. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this list as much as I enjoyed making it. I had a ball. If you want to keep up to date with H1Z1 news, if you want to get those day one guides and tutorials and Let's Plays that I was talking about, hit subscribe. If you liked it, hit like. But I really want to know what you guys are most excited for H1Z1. So let me know down in the comments. And until next time, guys, stay cool. See you later.